Hi and welcome. I hope you're having a wonderful Monday and you had a great weekend. I'm Mary, a librarian from the Claremont Branch Library. Glad to have you joining us for our weekly poetry reading. I did want to let you know that our poetry readings are going to be ending at the end of August. So if there is something else you'd like to hear with poetry or some other type of reading that you would enjoy hearing online, please let me know and I'll see if I can work that into the schedule for whatever programming is going to come next. But today, for our poems, they will all be poems that have a poetical element of either personification, onomatopoeia, simile, or metaphor. Personification is giving human characteristics to a non-human entity. Onomatopoeia is using a word that sounds like the action that's being described. Metaphors are describing something using another object or action, and similes are comparing one thing with another using like or as. So as I read these poems, some of them may only have one of those elements, many of them have multiple of the elements. So listen for those elements, and I hope you enjoy the poems I have for you today. I enjoy sharing them with you. So the first poem I'm going to share with you today is called Trees by Joyce Kilmer. I think that I shall never see a poem as lovely as a tree whose hungry mouth is pressed against the earth's sweet flowing breast, a tree that looks at God all day and lifts her leafy arms to pray, a tree that may in summer wear a nest of robins in her hair, upon whose bosom snow has lain, who intimately lives with rain. Poems are made by fools like me, but only God can make a tree. Next poems have a similar theme of human emotions in some way, and the first is Hope is a thing with feathers, and it's by Emily Dickinson. Hope is a thing with feathers that perches in the soul, and sings the tune without the words, and never stops at all. And sweetest in the gale is heard, and sore must be the storm that could abash the little bird that kept so many warm. I've heard it in the chilliest land and on the strangest sea, yet never in extremity it asked a crumb of me. This is by Mary Lamb, and it is called Envy. The rose tree is not made to bear the violet blue, nor lily fair, nor the sweet mignette. And if this tree were discontent, or wished to change its natural bent, it all in vain would fret. And should it fret, you would suppose it ne'er had seen its own red rose, nor after gentle shower had ever smelled its rose's scent, or it could ne'er be discontent with its own pretty flower. Like such a blind and senseless tree as I've imagined this to be, all envious persons are. With care and culture all may find some pretty flower in their own mind, some talent that is rare. And this is Destiny by Sophie Jewett. A noisome thing that crawls by covert path, for glad, unfearing feet to lie and wait. No part in summer's fellowship it hath, for mirth and love and music alienate. Yet once it flashed across the close brown grass in the noon sun, and as it quivered there, the spell of beauty over it did pass, making kin with earth and light and air. I knew that life's imperial self decrees that this, the loathliest of living things, by patient ways of cycled centuries, slow creeping, shall at last attain to wings. This is Human Seasons by John Keats. 4 seasons fill the measure of the year. There are 4 seasons in the mind of man. He has his lusty spring, when fancy clear takes in all beauty with an easy span. He has his summer, when luxuriously springs honeyed cud of youthful thought he loves to ruminate, and by such dreaming high is nearest unto heaven. Quiet coves his soul has in its autumn, when his wings he furleth clothes, contented so to look on mists in idleness, to let fair things pass by unheeded as a threshold brook. He has his winter too of paleness feature, or else he would forego his mortal nature. And this is A Birthday by Christina Rossetti. My heart is like a singing bird whose nest is in a watered shoot. My heart is like an apple tree whose boughs are bent with thickest fruit. My heart is like a rainbow shell that paddles in a halcyon sea. My heart is gladder than all these because my love is come to me. Raise me a dais of silk and down, hang it with fair and purple dyes, carve it in doves and pomegranates and peacocks with 100 eyes. Work it in gold and silver grapes, in leaves and silver fleur-de-lis, because the birthday of my life is come, my love is come to me. This is a fun one called The Engine by Ella Wheeler Wilcox. Some interesting metaphor, personification, and many of these things in this one. Into the gloom of the deep, dark night, with panting breath and a startled scream, swift as a bird in sudden flight, darts this creature of steel and steam. Awful dangers are lurking nigh, rocks and chasms are near the track, but straight by the light of its great white eye, it speeds through the shadows, dense and black. Terrible thoughts and fierce desires trouble its mad heart many an hour, where burn and smolder the hidden fires, coupled ever with might and power. It hates as wild horse hates the rain, the narrow track by the vale and hill, and shrieks with a cry of startled pain, and longs to follow its own wild will. Next poem is by John Donne, and it is called A Lecture Upon the Shadow. Stand still, and I will read to thee a lecture, love, in love's philosophy. These 3 hours we have spent, walking here, 2 shadows went along with us, which we ourselves produced. But now the sun is just above our head, we do those shadows tread, and to brave clearness all things are reduced. So whilst our infant love did grow, disguises did and shadows flow from us and our cares. But now 'tis not so. That love has not attained the highest degree, which is still diligent, lest others see. Except our loves at this noon stay, we shall new shadows make the other way, as the first were made to bind others, which these which come behind will work upon ourselves and blind our eyes. If our faint loves faint and westwardly decline, to me thou falsely thine, and I to thee mine actions shall disguise. The morning shadows wear away, but these grow longer all the day. But oh, love's day is short if love decay. Love is a growing or full constant light, and his first minute, afternoon, is night. This is by John Donne also, and it is called The Bait. Come, live with me and be my love, and we will some new pleasures prove, of golden sands and crystal brooks, with silken lines and silver hooks. There will the river whispering run, warmed by thy eyes more than the sun, and there the enamored fish will stay, begging themselves they may betray. When thou wilt swim in that live bath, each fish, which every channel hath, will amorously to thee swim, gladder to catch thee than thou him. If thou to be so seen beest loth, by sun or moon thou darkenest both, and if myself have to leave to see, I need not their light having thee. Let others freeze with angling reeds, and cut their legs with shells and weeds, or treacherously poor fish beset with strangling snare or windowy net. Let coarse bold hands from slimy nest the bedded fish in the banks outrest. or curious traders, sleeve silk flies, bewitch poor fishes' wandering eyes. For thee, thou needest no such deceit, for thou thyself art thine own bait. That fish that is not catched thereby, alas, is wiser than I. Next poem is by William Cullen Bryant, and it is called To a Waterfowl. Whither midst falling dew, while glow the heavens with the last steps of day, far through their rosy depths dost thou pursue thy solitary way? Vainly the fowler's eye might mark thy distant flight to do thee wrong, as darkly seen against the crimson sky thy figure floats along. Seekest thou the plashy brink of weedy lake or marge of river wide, or there the rocking billows rise and sink on the chafed ocean side? There is a power whose care teaches thy way along that pathless coast, the desert and illimitable air, lone wandering, but not lost. All day thy wings have fanned, at that far height, the cold, thin atmosphere. Yet stoop not weary to the welcome land, though the dark night is near. And soon that toil shall end. Soon shalt thou find a summer home and rest, and scream among thy fellows. Reeds shall bend soon o'er thy sheltered nest. Thou'rt gone, the abyss of heaven hath swallowed up thy form, yet on my heart deeply hath sunk the lesson thou hast given, and shall not soon depart. He who from zone to zone guides through the boundless sky thy certain flight, in the long way that I must trace alone, will lead my steps aright. I'm going to read two poems about water. The first is by Oliver Wendell Holmes Sr., and it is called Two Streams. Behold the rocky wall, that down its sloping sides pours the swift raindrops, blending, as they fall, in rushing river tides. Yon stream, whose sources run, turned by a pebble's edge, is Abathassica, rolling toward the sun, through the cleft mountain ledge. The slender rill has strayed, but for the slanting stone, to evening's ocean, with a tangled braid of foam-flecked Oregon. So from the heights of will, life's parting stream descends, and, as a monument turns its slender rill, each widening torrent bends. From the same cradle's side, from the same mother's knee, one to long darkness and the frozen tide, one to the peaceful sea. This is called Brook by Alfred Lord Tennyson. I come from haunts of coot and hern, I make a sudden sally, and sparkle out among the fern, to bicker down a valley. By thirsty hills I hurry down, or slip between the ridges, by 20 thorps a little town, and 100 bridges, till last by Philip's farm I flow, to join the brimming river, for men may come and men may go, but I go on forever. I chatter over stony ways, in little sharps and trebles, I bubble into eddying bays, I babble on the pebbles. With many a curve my banks I fret, by many a field and fallow, and many a fairy foreland set, with willow, weed, and mallow. I chatter as I flow, to join the brimming river, for men may come and men may go, but I go on forever. I wind about and in and out, with here a blossom sailing, and here and there a lusty trout, and here and there a grayling, and here and there a foamy flake upon me as I travel, with many a silvery water break above the golden gravel, and draw them all along and flow to join the brimming river. For men may come and men may go, but I go on forever. I steal by lawns and grassy plots, I slide by hazel covers, I move the sweet forget-me-nots that grow for happy lovers. I slip, I slide, I gloom, I glance among my skimming swallows. I make the netted sunbeam dance against my sandy shallows. I murmur under moon and stars in brambly wilderness. I linger on my shingly bars, I loiter round my cresses, and out again I curve and flow to join the brimming river. For men may come and men may go, but I go on forever. And we're going to end with a poem a bit longer than the others, that has some fun onomatopoeia throughout it. So I hope you enjoy this last poem. It is The Bells by Edgar Allan Poe. Hear the sledges with the bells, silver bells. What a world of merriment their melody foretells. How they tinkle, tinkle, tinkle in the icy air of night, while the stars that oversprinkle all the heavens seem to twinkle with a crystalline delight, keeping time, 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 in a sort of runic rhyme, to the tintabulation that so musically wells from the bells, 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 from the jingling and the tinkling of the bells. Hear the mellow wedding bells, golden bells. What a world of happiness their harmony foretells. Through the balmy air of night, how they ring out their delight. From the molten golden notes, and all in tune, what a liquid ditty floats to the turtle dove that listens while she gloats on the moon. Oh, from out the sounding cells, what a gush of euphony voluminously wells. How it swells, how it dwells on the future, how it tells of the rapture that impels to the swinging and the ringing of the bells, 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 of the bells, 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 to the rhyming and the chiming of the bells. Hear the loud alarm bells, brazen bells. What tale of terror now their turbulency tells? In the startled ear of night, how they scream out their affright. Too much horrified to speak, they can only shriek, shriek, out of tune, in a clamorous appealing of the mercy to the fire, in a mad expostulation with the deaf and frantic fire, leaping higher, 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 with a desperate desire, and a resolute endeavor, now to sit or never, by the side of the pale-faced moon. Oh, the bells, 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 what a tale their terror tells of despair, how they clang and clash and roar, what a horror they outpour on the bosom of the palpitating air. Yet the ear it fully knows, by the twanging and the clanging, how the danger ebbs and flows. Yet the ear distinctly tells, in the jangling and the wrangling, how the danger sinks and swells, by the sinking or the swelling in the anger of the bells, of the bells, of the bells, 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 in the clamor and the clangor of the bells. Hear the tolling of the bells, iron bells. What a world of solemn thought their monody compels. In the silence of the night, how we shiver with affright at the melancholy menace of their tone. For every sound that floats from the rust within their throats is a groan. And the people, ah, the people, they that dwell up in the steeple, all alone, and who tolling, 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 in that muffled monotone, feel a glory in so rolling on the human heart a stone. They are neither man nor woman, they are neither brute nor human, they are ghouls, and their king it is who tolls, and he rolls, 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 a paean from the bells, and his merry bosom swells with the paean of the bells, and he dances and he yells, keeping time, 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 in a sort of runic rhyme, to the paean of the bells, keeping time, 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 in a sort of runic rhyme, to the throbbing of the bells, 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 to the sobbing of the bells, keeping time, 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 as he knells, 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 in a happy runic rhyme, to the rolling of the bells, 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 to the tolling of the bells, 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 to the moaning and the groaning of the bells. So I hope you've enjoyed these poems today. I always enjoy sharing them with you. This was a fun group of poems to do. So remember, this next week I'll be doing poems that make you think a bit or make you look at something differently, or also they take sort of a scientific view of a specific topic. So it'll be a little different than some of the other poems I've done. And again, let me know if there is anything specific you'd like for me to start reading in September, as the poetry will be ending in this form. So until next week, I hope that you have a wonderful week. I hope you do join me next Monday for our second to last poetry reading. And yeah, have a great week.